Today I'm going to share with you my thimble hack. Do you find that your hands become fatigued and your fingertips get sensitive when you're doing hand stitching? Well, I have searched high and low for the perfect setup for thimbles for myself, and I thought I'd share them with you. So stick with me while I break down what worked and what didn't, and my two new favorite thimbles. So let's break down what are my favorite thimbles. I'd like to say that I have all of my thimbles here, but I threw a bunch of them out because they just weren't my favorite, and I thought, why have them in my studio cluttering up? But I have been testing some other thimbles, and I want to break down the ones that I like the best. These top three are from Tiny House. This is a Japanese company, and they make a variety of different thimbles. And so when I was in Chicago a year ago, I picked up this white one and this blue one, and they worked great for a while. I love this white one for stitching, but it has an elastic gusset on the back, and it has stretched out. So it's kind of sloppy on my finger now. You can tell that I've used it quite a bit. And I really do like this thimble a lot, but it's kind of too big and too sloppy for me now. I actually put a piece of batting in there. I don't know if you can see that, to try to take up some of the slack. But so, I mean, I'll use it if I have to, but it's no longer my favorite because it's stretched out. I also picked up this kind of denim thimble, and I like it. It's not my favorite though. It fits a little snugger and it hasn't stretched out, but on the inside it has like this neoprene, and it's just not that comfortable. When I've been stitching for an hour or two, my finger gets a little sweaty in there, and it's just not as comfortable as I think it should be. So again, not my favorite. So a couple months ago when I was at a trade show in Chicago, the dealer for these thimbles was there, and so I stopped by their booth, and they had this black one. And they didn't have this the year before. The thing I liked about this was that it was longer, and the one that I tried on there obviously had been well loved, and it was a little bit stretched out. So just like a new pair of shoes, like you got to break these guys in. And I went for a thimble that was a little bit tighter because I knew that it would stretch out. And so as I work with this, it gets better and better all the time. There's a pad. I don't know if you can kind of see, there's a ridge there because there's a pad. And I would say that my fingertip is about right there. But every time I sit down to stitch with this, it just gets a little bit more broken in. And so this is my new favorite as far as thimbles go. Obviously, it's not vegan friendly, so there's that. So my other must-have are these silicone thimbles. I love these because they help with gripping the needle. I also got these at the same place, but I'm not sure if they're Tiny House. I'll have to look that up. But I wouldn't recommend these for pulling or for protecting your finger from a needle strike, because they do have holes in them and they're not particularly thick. And I think you could puncture this pretty easily depending on what kind of needle you're using. These are my go-to thimbles. I love this combination. I use it all the time. It doesn't matter if I'm using a big needle or a fine needle, a quilting sharp. These are the thimbles that I use. I also wanted to show you that I have this little tin, and it's got a few dents in it. It's been across the country a couple of times with me. I take this with me everywhere when I'm going to be doing hand stitching. And one of the things that's really important to me is to keep everything together. So if I go to sit down to do some stitching, I just have to grab my tin. And so I just keep everything in this tin. I have a needle minder, some clips, a needle threader. I put my thimbles in here. and the magnetic needle minder keeps the needles from floating around in there. I actually do keep these other thimbles in there just so that I know where they're at. And then I have this great set of scissors that just fits perfectly. So this way it's all together. Anytime I decide that I want to stitch, all I have to do is grab my tin and everything's right there. No need to hunt down a needle, a pair of scissors, clips, or any of that because they're all together. I hope that you find these tips valuable and that you're able to find your perfect thimble. I definitely recommend them. It keeps our hands in really great shape so that we can stitch for years to come. Because of course, that's always the goal, is more stitching, more quilting, and years to come. Thank you for joining me today, and happy stitching.